She went out for her routine jog, but unfortunately, she would never come home. Hello, true crimerers. This is the case of Melissa Millan. Viewer discretion is advised. Melissa Millan was born in October of 1960. I know that she had two brothers, and she grew up in a really loving household. She would give birth to her first child in 1999, and then a couple years later gave birth to her second child. She had a son and a daughter, and she was an amazing mother. Melissa was described as incredibly energetic, very charismatic, very friendly, with just such an inviting personality. And once she met you, she was just someone who became your friend. Eventually, in her career, she would become the senior vice president of Mass Mutual, and this is in Simsbury, Connecticut. Melissa was a born leader. She had a lot of drive and was just living a really successful life. Melissa was also very athletic. She jogged all the time. I think she ran in like marathons and whatnot, and she made some really good friends doing that. She would do a nightly jog around the neighborhood, and that is where she met her very untimely and unfortunate end. On November 20th, 2014, at approximately 8 p.m. near, Rotary Park, and on the Iron Horse Boulevard roadway, some passerbys noticed a woman on the ground. When they got closer, they realized that she was bleeding. At first, they thought she was hit, maybe like a hit and run. But once an ambulance arrived, they determined that she had actually been stabbed numerous times. The stab wounds were primarily inflicted to her chest. She would survive until she got to the hospital, but unfortunately, she would end up succumbing to her wounds, and Melissa passed away. There was unfortunately just not a lot of evidence at the crime scene. There were no cameras that captured the incident. There were no witnesses who saw it happen. And Melissa's body was actually found underneath a lamppost where the bulb was out. So that was the one area where it was dark. Police interviewed everybody in her life. They interviewed anyone who could potentially be a witness to this, interviewed co-workers, maybe someone who had a grudge against her, maybe any scorned ex-lovers. I don't believe she was seeing anyone at the time this case occurred, but they just weren't getting anywhere, unfortunately. The 54-year-old woman's case pretty much went cold really quickly, and they were stumped. This was more than likely a random chance encounter, and those are the hardest ones to solve. 4 years later, they finally got their break. A registered sex offender named William Winters Leverett would confess to people at a church that he was responsible for her murder. They encouraged him to go to police, and he did. He confesses to police that he was actually at a sex offenders therapy group that night, and afterwards he found Melissa running. He got angry when he saw her because he said to himself, "She's way out of my league," and that sent him off in a frenzy. He didn't know her, she didn't know him. So he approached her and attacked her. She tried to push him away and flee. Melissa was sadly in the wrong place at the wrong time. In May of 2022, he pled guilty to her murder, and he was sentenced to 35 years in prison. But nothing can repair what he took away. One of her brothers would state that this does not bring closure, because this never needed to happen. This shouldn't have happened. But at least Melissa got her justice.